Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called Humans Overshare, written by Random 3X. Plinkton was on his way to meet with a new race that had put in a request to join the exploration crew of his ship. Their qualifications display an impressive amount of skill, and he was already prepared to accept the human onto his crew. The interview was only a formality. Arriving at the interview room, he knocked on the door and received a confirmation to enter. Greetings, human 146 Alpha 8008 IE5. Plinkton greeted as he sat down on the opposite side of the table from the human. That ID code always makes me laugh. The human chuckled. Plinkton was taken aback by this. Such a display of emotions was usually reserved for the deranged. Pardon? Sorry, sir, it's a childish joke. The human replied, straightening up and out his features and sitting up straight. Plinkton felt relief that the human wasn't a deranged lunatic, but just one that had a momentary lapse due to a childhood incident. I have come to confirm some details with you, Plinkton continued, to which the human made a gesture with a grasping appendage to indicate for him to continue. Your designated ID aside, you have a self-identifier? You mean a name. Identify as Peter, sir. Tell me about yourself, Plinkton asked, expecting to have the human repeat verbatim the qualifications recorded in his application. Well, what can I say? The human murmured as he tapped his chin to display that he seemed odd to Plinkton. Well, I am someone who will always give my all. I am someone who works well with others and always strives for the best. Plinkton had to physically repress his glands on his neck from releasing pheromones. It seemed likely that there was a strange leakage of emotion from the human. Perhaps he actually was deranged in the end. I see. Do your brood pack suffer from mental illness? Plinkton asked, wondering if this was a genetic quirk of this human. Nah, they seem to all enjoy being crazy, the human replied with a large smile. Plinkton was even more certain that this human was deranged. To openly display emotions was something reserved for brood packs, not perfect strangers. I see, so they are all unstable. Plinkton made a note of this for future screenings of humans. You could say that. My nephew recently reached the dinosaur obsession phase all kids have, though in my case it was an ancient Egypt phase. Again, the human was sharing personal details. This was baffling to Plinkton. He had read that the humans had practically strong pack bonding behavior, but this was simply insane. Offering details of personal nature simply was not acceptable in polite society. What about you? Do you have any kids? Plinkton was taken back by the intrusive question. You look like you've got a few kids at home. Plinkton paused to look over the human's application. There was nothing noting a telepathic ability, so he had the human identified such a truth when he himself did not reveal it. How did you come to such a conclusion? I don't know. You just have that vibe about you. Me, I'm just relegated to being a funkle, and I'm the most fun person in my nephews' and nieces' lives, and I had the bonus of giving them musical toys. Musical? Plinkton echoed. Was the human a member of a religious order? Amongst his race, music was only allowed for the divinely connected. To express one's emotions to a whole temple was seen as the highest calling for a select few. Yeah, I'm the youngest of my siblings, so they did the usual sibling stuff. I get revenge by being idolized by their kids while giving them noisy toys, the human explained with a chuckle. Human, Plinkton began as he tried to compose himself. Do you wish for me to become a member of your brood pack? It was the only explanation that made sense. Perhaps the human had decided to back bond with Plinkton, and that was why he was so openly displaying emotions. Huh? No, why would I? Do you want to join my family? I know it sounds fun and all, but it might be a bit more much for a first-time meeting. So you accept that we would limit our interactions in a first-time meeting? The human nodded. Well, obviously. Then why did you share such personal details? Huh? The human now seemed utterly perplexed. Well, they may be personal, but they are the open kind of personal. Stuff that we can share with anyone. Is it bad? Quite so, human. My race, we do not share any such details except with the closest of brood partners, Plankton explained, finally realizing that this was more likely down to a misunderstanding rather than an escaped lunatic applying for an engineering role. Oh, I apologize if I made you uncomfortable. Where I'm from, we like to share these details. Why? Plankton asked, now genuinely curious. Don't know. Guess it's part of how we make connections. We let others into our lives and they do the same, and then we can build a stronger bond. Plankton could understand this notion. It was why brood packs were so closely connected. To think humans would do so openly was, if anything, strange. And you don't experience conflicts due to this? Oh, we do. We humans love to pick a side, but part of the sharing is encouraging another pack to pick our side, I suppose. Anyways, I think that we went off the track, the human said, gesturing to the application. Plankton realized that the human was right. They had deviated from the set plan from the interview. Well, I suppose I'll be honest, human. It is unlikely that we'll be able to hire you. Ah, why? Is it the sharing stuff? I can keep that under wraps if it's the case. Plankton swallowed as the human became more animated, with his emotions shining through. You are too emotive, human. My race saves our emotions for those we hold dear. Outside of that, we must remain strict and controlled. Oh, the human now looked downcast. I understand that you don't need a robot, and you got a human. Robot? Plankton repeated. Mechanical being we humans make. They'd be right up your alley. I'll give you my brother's card. He runs a robot production plant and can help you get some. Humans have made mechanical beings? Yes, but you'll want the non-android ones. Why? We made them look like us, so they show emotions. Plankton sunk in his chair as the human left the room. Humanity was ironically such an enigma of a race for them being so open. Perhaps their inclusion into the galactic society may be something new to see. At this, though, Plankton couldn't help but smile, grateful for being alone to do so openly. End of story. Story number 2, Orion Rock, written by Operation Technician. By this point in the meeting, everyone was adequately focused on the subject matter. Half of everyone present was sweating, and a good quarter had started losing their voices. With most of the shouters out of the shouting match, there was finally a prospect of progress in the discussion. Never had a high-level conference of the Admiralty been this engaging. This moment of silence was aesthetically perfect, a real decoration to the minutes of shouting that had come before. The stenographers had frozen, looming over the mechanical typewriters, trying to keep their heavy breathing quiet. It was illegal! It was perhaps outside of the unwritten bounds. Illegal! He had no authority, nor cause for any of it. None of it was explicitly against his orders or forbidden by time. To be fair, no set of orders in history has had to explicitly forbid most of what he pulled off. Yet, we've many examples of orders specifically requiring the presence of a musical element. When? In the 16th century? Absolutely. That's outside the context of this problem. And later, during World War II. You could call it a naval tradition. What the bloody hell are you talking about? He was live streaming the insides of his battlecraft to the entire system during combat. It was a video of an empty compartment. Nothing secret about bare metal walls. No, it wasn't empty, and you know as well as I do it wasn't empty. Now you want to know how he snuck a piano aboard. It wasn't just any piano, but you have to understand there are many types of pianos. He could have used an electric keyboard, just a plastic plank with keys. Really light. Oh no, he snuck in a full-size wooden concert grand piano. Back to the point. The point is that it was thought through. Premeditated treason is still treason. Then we'll have to execute all the accomplices to this treason too. They've all admitted that they weren't ordered to do so. Most shipman Gracias on the piano, Lieutenants Ian and Javier on the violin and trumpet, Marshal of the ship Merton on the accordion. You want to shoot 4 perfectly fine crew for running a 40-minute musical performance during combat. broadcasting to the entire system on all channels without authorization, with equipment they smuggled aboard. Was the equipment on the ship's official inventory listing? Yes, although under creative names, meaning the piano was onboard strategic reserve listed as an ancillary communications equipment block, naturally. So, not smuggled, as I am sure that we're about to be very clearly here. He had no authority to order the major rate recalibration on his Orion drive, and most of all, not for the sake of creating a beat for his fucking onboard boy band. The pulse rate in operation was in no way detrimental. No authority! The calibration was agreed upon and signed by the very engineer that worked on it. It was deemed safe and perfectly within the operational band of the drive. Calibration of that rate at which nuclear detonations are triggered to propel a kilometer-tall battlecraft. Calibration like that happens for reasons. Good reasons. Needing pacing for an orchestra is not a good reason. It created a nice static overlay every beat. The Orion drive is being considered a fifth musical instrument, like a drum. You know what is a good reason, Admiral Rook? Morale. I go as far as to say that the morale is a strategic weapon. We are a serious organization, Admiral Yule. We'll fight wars. We're fighting one now. Now it is not the time for childish stunts. Your 10-year-old self would have called you very boring adult. Actions have consequences, and the consequences of the Captain Ulyan's actions was that his ship was focused down by every opposing asset in the battle space. So isn't it fortunate that his was the only battleship we have capable of dealing with the attention? On the subject of attention, I don't think it matters if what he did was legal, or appropriate, or even sane. If we stake him now, or so much as express disapproval, we'll be dragged out of the Admiralty by the crowds and hung off the first bridge at dawn. Ulyan was untouchable in the eyes of the public because his fucking 5-instrument and nuke piston band is playing on every radio station in the system. And he's untouchable in the eyes of the fleet either because he drew the fire of the entire enemy force. Projected losses given completely logical assignments to targets was 3 times higher. Hold up. Was it not Captain Ulyan's orders to, does someone have those orders? Yeah. Let's see here. Yes, okay. And I quote, use the survivability of your command to minimize damage and losses to other allied assets. You're saying that stunt was authorized by his orders? As far as I'm concerned, Admiral. Admiral Rook. Admiral, what's wrong with you? Someone catch. Oh, fuck. He's having a heart attack. Unseal the conference room. Get the medics in here. If an admiral dies shouting, it'll be an important lesson in history. Get the door open. End of story.